Hello and welcome to my heavy metal detox smoothie video. In this video, I'm going to share with you the recipe that I use for my heavy metal detox smoothie. If you understand about the war on consciousness, then you'll recognize that these heavy metals are basically used as a primary ingredient in a lot of the nanotechnology that they are using to help sever that connection that people have to divine God source energy. So essentially, this smoothie is really beneficial in helping us extract a lot of this heavy metal toxicity from our bodies, because a lot of this heavy metals also goes on to cause a whole bunch of chronic conditions, especially when we look at a lot of the mental health issues from Alzheimer's and other mental health conditions. Now, this is something that I learned from Medical Medium. Medical Medium is an excellent resource for a lot of this knowledge, and someone who I've learned so much from, recognizing so many of the threats that are being posed against humanity through these toxins and these chemicals that we are being exposed to. So it's helpful to know that there are natural solutions that we can use in order to detoxify our bodies from a lot of these chemicals as well as heavy metals. Now, like I said, this is a heavy metal detox smoothie. However, it's also a smoothie that is very beneficial in terms of getting rid of a whole host of other toxins from our body. So it's not just for heavy metals only. And what's really important about this is that all these ingredients in this recipe basically work synergistically to help extract the heavy metals from our body. I used to think things like chlorella and that were actually good in terms of removing the heavy metals from our body. However, the problem with chlorella is that it tends to dump the heavy metals. So after it's extracted it or whatever it binds to the heavy metals, it tends to dump them wherever in our body and causes havoc in other places. So it doesn't work as effectively in terms of the elimination. So this is what I understand from Medical Medium, from understanding why these specific ingredients are so important in terms of helping us remove a lot of the toxicity. So let's get into the ingredients. So first, I'm using 2 bananas. I'm using cilantro, a bunch of cilantro. Cilantro is really good in terms of helping to remove a lot of the toxicity. Then I'm using barley grass juice powder, so I'm going to use that. I'm using spirulina, Atlantic dulse, as well as wild blueberries. Now, these specific ingredients are really needed in order to really be effective at helping to extract a lot of these heavy metals from our body. Now, the original recipe also recommends the use of spinach. However, some people, especially people with a certain body constitution, according to Ayurveda, should not be consuming spinach. So that's one of the reasons why I personally decided not to include spinach. However, my understanding is that this should still work pretty effectively in terms of helping eliminate a lot of the heavy metal toxicity that we have. So with that being said, let's get into making this smoothie. So first, I'm going to go on and add the bananas. Now, I've got a smoothie maker that basically works in reverse. So essentially, I'm going to add the heavy ingredients first, and then I'll add all the powders and that later on. So I've added the bananas. Next, I'm going to add blueberries. So more or less about I would say about a half a cup of blueberries. And then I'm going to add the cilantro. So you don't need to chop it up because the blender is going to do a lot of the work for you. So I'm going to take cilantro and add that to it. So next up, I'm adding the barley grass powder. Now, barley grass powder, I generally aim for 2 teaspoons. So about a tablespoon of barley grass powder. Once you've added the barley grass powder, I'm going to add the spirulina. Now, both the spirulina and the barley grass are really effective in terms of removing a lot of the heavy metals. The difference, however, is that the spirulina actually goes much further into the body in terms of really getting onto the heavy metals that are in those very hard to reach places. So the spirulina, I'm going to add the same amount. So basically a tablespoon or 2 teaspoons if you add in spirulina. And then finally, I'm going to add the Atlantic dulse. Now, the Atlantic dulse, I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons or 2 teaspoons of Atlantic dulse. And that's basically the main ingredients that goes into the smoothie. Next, I'm going to add, now this is just a personal preference. I generally like, instead of using oat milk, I'll just soak up a bit of oats and I'll use the water from the top to basically help to give it a bit more smoother consistency. You can add a little bit of oats to it as well. Now these are organic oats, they are the gluten-free version as well. So I'm going to use that to just help with the consistency. So this is not needed in terms of the original recipe, this is just personal preference. So that adds a bit of liquid content. I'm going to add just a little bit of water so that it blends up really well. And so there you go, this is basically all the ingredients, and I'm going to blend all these ingredients together to give us our heavy metal detox smoothie. Okay, so there we go, it's done. This is essentially our heavy metal detox smoothie. Give it a little bit of a shake up. Okay, so there we go. This is our heavy metal detox smoothie. If you want to go ahead and add things like hemp seeds, go for it. That's just going to help it be a bit more thicker consistency if that's your preference. However, the smoothie is quite delicious. It's quite sweet in itself. The blueberries and the bananas add quite a bit of sweetness, and then you're still getting the greenness from the barley grass powder as well as the spirulina as well. It's going to have a slightly salty taste, which is coming from the Atlantic dulse. Now the Atlantic dulse is really important because that's one of the ingredients that helps to effectively ensure, it's almost like this insurance policy that you want to get it out of your body and not have it being dumped somewhere within your body. So you don't want to move heavy metals from one place in your body to another place in your body. You want to essentially ensure that it gets all the way out. And so given all the toxicity that we're facing with heavy metals, this is one of those smoothies that I highly recommend. At least try and get it once or twice a week. I try and do it for once or twice a week. Some people do it daily. However, I find the sweetness maybe a bit too much if you're doing it on a daily basis. Enjoy. That is a really delicious smoothie.